Good morning. It is Sunday, the 9th of September. Woo! And you're here with the Crypto Divas with me, Gillian Gottsell, and my partner in crime, Liina Bilson. And
Hello.
we've been traveling. So, Liina, off you go first. Where have you been, and what have you been up to?
Yeah, I went on a great trip in Asia, visited Singapore, Hong Kong, Bangkok, and Shanghai in China.
Wow.
As the Black Insurance ICO is starting in just over 2 weeks, did a little roadshow. And it's really quite interesting what's happening in Asia. They are definitely way ahead of us in terms of funding and all sorts of blockchain projects. So I met a lot of great people there, and quite by accident even met the CEO of HSBC Insurance. And that was an interesting discussion, because what they are doing over there is they're trying to digitalize all of insurance in Hong Kong, because that is mainly still done on paper and over the phone. But now they're trying to go digital. And of course, if you're in the ICO scene,
I know.
then the main question you get asked is, why do you need blockchain for that? And of course, he asked me, why do we need blockchain for this? And I said, well, why do you need to digitize insurance? Paper works. And I went, oh, okay. So yeah, it was really interesting seeing how these big corporations work and what they think about things. And it's been a blast. I'm really tired, but it's good.
And tell me, you were saying as well that they're more, you're there to look at fundraising, obviously, as well as a roadshow. So were you attending, how did you meet investors? Were you attending different conferences, or did you set up private meetings? What was the layout of that?
I did a conference in Singapore, and also I set up private meetings, and then a friend of mine set up a meetup for us in Shanghai. But yeah, it was mainly just connecting to investors and meeting up.
Good.
And
yeah, I hope it comes off well. I must say, since we last spoke, I was in the Balkans. Never been there before. I tell you very briefly, it's an amazing trip. It was organized by Dean Thomas, who runs True Tesla Technologies. And he works with, he's an Englishman living in Croatia, and he works with Tomislav Tesla, who is the direct great-grandson, I think, of Nikolai. And Tomislav is also an inventor in the sustainable energy field. So he's working on that. So he set up this festival called the Liberty Festival. It was mad. It was international cyclists. There was DJs from Ibiza. There were blockchain, of course, it's a blockchain festival. There was arts, there was music. It was crazy. And there was pyramids. I mean, I flew into Budapest. I got there at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was picked up, brought down to Croatia, to Osijek. And I had 50 minutes to shower and change. And then I headed off with Dean and the 3 DJs from Ibiza. So Tim, Joe, and Marta. And went down to Bosnia. And then we went to the Bosnian pyramids. Did you know there were Bosnian pyramids?
No, I did not.
They're terribly controversial. People say that they are or they're not. I have to say, having been there, they definitely are. And it's the same day that we were there. We arrived at about sort of 11 or 12. The Bosnian Prime Minister arrived on a private visit. So I got a picture with him. We saw the pyramids. We saw the tunnels underneath the pyramids. And then we stayed overnight under the overhang of the pyramid. It's definitely man-made. This is not a natural mountain. Then we drove back the next morning. I was dropped off at my place. I gave my talk in a very hot, sweaty room where the aircon wasn't working. And by the end of it, and it was videoed for posterity. I had like a damp rag. I was disgusting, but very interesting. And then I met this chap called really interesting guy, Dookie Brownflow. He's a rap hip hop artist from New Jersey. And then he was performing later on. There was all bands. And then I was picked up by Dean and the 3 DJs. And we're all now best buddies because we've been traveling for hours on the road. And do you know how the Croatians drive? Absolutely crazy. Tailgating in and out, overtaking on corners. I don't know how he survived. And then we got back to the hotel, showered again because it was so hot. I went back to the club, VIP club. We get in the VIP and we're in the VIP area. And it's a trance club. And then Joe does his session between 2 and 3:30 in the morning. I'm there, right, in the VIP section of the trance club, in flip-flops and a dress, trying to do, the dances, all kind of different stuff. Because I grew up doing this kind of dancing, It was so funny. Nobody videoed me, I think. But the most amazing couple of days in the world. So anyway, That's blockchain for you. Blockchain is really interesting, isn't it? It's mad the places that bring you. You know, rubbing shoulders with the Bosnian PM and pyramids, and definitely everybody go and look at the Bosnian pyramids. They are amazing. So, how about news in crypto this week, apart from travel? What news do you have, Liina?
News, well, of course, it's the price.
Yes.
The price is pretty ugly. So Ethereum is now $200, and I found an interesting one. So there's an all-time high amount of shorts on Ethereum, and weirdly, that may actually, if there's a little bit of an increase in price, that can also result in a thing called a short squeeze. So if the price rises, people may want to close the shorts so that they won't lose money. But the only way to close a short is to buy back the currency that you're shorting on. So that may actually result in an increase in price. But, of course, that's all a speculation. But yes,
did you see that there was Vitalik Buterin came out and said it'll never go to zero, and he was rebutting a chap called Jeremy Rubin, who was an advisor with Stellar and writes for Bitcoin Core, I think. And he said because you can choose to pay the fees without Ether, it's called an economic abstraction. So he reckons that Rubin was saying that it could go to zero, but Vitalik came back and said no way, because the community is looking at this and you have to pay in Ether. And plus also the chap Martin Koppelman was saying you need Ether to create blocks. Staking, the point is off. So anyway, Vitalik is saying it won't go to zero. I hope he's right. Scary.
Well, as the price is what it is, I was meeting a lot of funds over in Asia, and we were talking in Shanghai that the price is bad, and a lot of funds are either have frozen their investments and they're not doing anymore, or they are actually closing. So, if you look at the numbers of the amount of money that was raised in August, that I think was 600,000. So not normally it's over $1 billion. So yeah, it's definitely difficult times. But it is a bizarre world in crypto. Bitcoin, I think last week hit over 7,000, and you can see in the groups on social media, the sort of unsophisticated investor, they are already shouting, it's going to the moon. And I'm like, hang on, guys, just calm down. And it's really bizarre how quickly people get enthusiastic about the price.
Yes. I mean, as we said before, when you're an ex-trader, I'm not a trader, the price is disconcerting. You're trying to fundraise, obviously, but it's the work continues. It's not people say, does that mean your industry is crushed? I'm going, no, it's just the price is a bit tough, but it should right itself. I'm hoping that it will, but the work continues. It's just the thing I do see, a lot of the ICOs that I'm working with, they've either stalled or they've pushed out their crowd funding because it's just the value is not there at the moment. It's tough for investors. And I think we're also in September. Schools are back, colleges are back. I think it'll normalize a bit, and not to the moon, but it should just normalize and be a bit more healthy than it is at the moment. I hope.
Yeah, we will see. I've got some more news here, or is there something you want to?
Well, you go ahead. I've got a few pieces. You go ahead.
Okay, so as you know, just back from China, found this article that China's Supreme Court has recognized blockchain evidence as legally binding. Ooh. So that means that smart contracts are now legal in China. So if you set up a contract through a smart contract and specified all the the details, then that is viewed as a legal document, and they are looking at how to handle disputes around these internet-based issues. So it's really bizarre. China, on one hand, in Beijing, they have now banned all sorts of blockchain and ICO events.
Yes.
And they're their internet is heavily censored. So you can't use Facebook, Google, or whatnot in China unless you have a VPN. And then they just go in and say that, smart contracts are totally fine. So it's like a bit crazy.
That is mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I was looking around for nice news. I know we talked about the market, whatever, and I saw this really nice news. There's a Canadian ghost town called Ocean Falls, and had an old mill there, a traditional mill, whatever, and a big dam. They used hydro electricity, but the whole town, it's like a ghost town, but 100 people living there. And then this miners moved in, Bitcoin miners. And they have, because the electricity is cheap, they're now buying a lot of the electricity. Now they haven't been given the full amount because whoever runs the dam are a bit suspicious, and they've brought jobs to the area, and there's now people coming back into the area. It's kind of cool. And even the local pub, or the local inn as they called it, was very busy, certainly during construction, and they were delighted to have the new faces in town. That's kind of nice to see that mining using hydro electricity is bringing life back into a little town in Canada. That was cool, I thought.
Yeah, that's very nice. What else do we have here?
Oh, let me jump in before you find that. You know how I said I met Dookie Brown Flo, this really charming American rap artist. Tell you how nice he is. We were all hanging around before the actual conference, and it was mad hot, and he walks down to the local Aldi and comes back with all crisps and drinks for everybody, because it's just, it was in, I forget what the place was, but there was no canteens, so we couldn't get anything ourselves. Came back in the mad heat with 2 big grocery bags full of biscuits and crisps and water for everybody. He's such a sweet man. So he's big into Bitcoin. He also is very into Steemit. He publishes his music a lot on Steemit. But also, rappers getting to Bitcoin, it's kind of interesting because Eminem was rapping about Bitcoin recently, and of course, he sings so quickly. My daughter can quote all his lyrics. I in one ear and out the other. But he was talking about Bitcoin, that was a replacement for, gold, whatever. And of course, Akon, as we know, he launched the big American rap one, he launched his Acoin, which was to build a crypto city in Senegal. And I think I'm going to meet Acoin because I'm involved with a group of people who are organizing the world's first ICO Awards in London on the 7th of December. We're about to launch any minute. This is a pre-launch. And Acoin is a sponsor. And I think Akon, the man himself, we're hoping is going to attend as well. So that'll be very exciting. I like rappers. They're very
fantastic.
I'm so boring and old-fashioned. People, it's very exciting. People are like, woo! My kids.
Yeah, that's great. The more sort of prominent people we get into it, the more normal people will follow.
Yeah,
it seems to work. So yeah, even though there's sorts of bad feelings about the price and so on and so on, I've also found a story that, according to a survey was published on 5th of September by the investment platform SharesPost, majority of accredited and retail investors plan to actually increase their crypto asset holdings over the next year. So, the prices are low, so people may actually want to start buying, and we may see a change here.
And I saw a piece of news that I have is Iceland. Now, I'm very fond of Iceland. You may be aware, and maybe our viewers may be aware, in Ireland, we bailed out the bankers, the public purse bailed bankers. In Iceland, they jailed the bankers, and they totally changed the government, and they've done some amazing, for a little tiny country, they've done amazing things. So they have their first official cryptocurrency exchange. There was one before. The interesting thing is, because obviously Iceland is cold, so it's in the very north, and not about 90% or plus of its electricity is from renewable sources. So, your dog likes it.
Sorry.
And this new exchange is called Skiptument. I'm not quite sure. And Krona is the affiliate for Oracoin, is their version of Bitcoin. So that'll be interesting. Essentially, they were saying too as well, crime is very rare in Iceland. It was funny. There was a heist in cryptocurrency earlier this year. And the chap who was convicted of it, he was put into a charge for the crime. And the guy's name is Sindri Thor Stephenson. He managed to flee the country because he literally climbed out the window in the low security prison and walked the nearby road. There was no fences or anything, and went off to the airport. So there's obviously very little crime in Iceland. But I want to visit Iceland one of these days. I like the sound of the people.
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely doing some interesting things there, and it's just the mentality is a bit different than the West.
Yes.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
Yeah, that's all my news. Do you have more news? I'm a bit low on news today.
I have another one here. I'm not sure how significant this is, but Lenovo partners with a blockchain platform, and they're going to start developing its IoT and AR and VR software together. So, I mean, it's always good when big giants start using blockchain, because how we get there in the end. And they are working together with the Credits platform, and they are providing a range of services for launching dApps, which are decentralized apps. So yeah, that's interesting. That's good to know, and hopefully something interesting comes out of there as well.
I hope so, because a friend of mine, well, actually, that's true, a chap that I've spoken to, reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, I believe Dennis O'Brien, which is Ireland's richest man, is invested in cryptocurrency. I think it's not true, because I actually know Dennis, and he hates cryptocurrencies. And he said, should I invest? And the minimum amount is €260. And I'm going, what platform are you on? And do you normally trade stocks and shares and currencies? And I'm not going, it makes me quite cross. I mean, like, there's this, and he's unemployed, he's at the end of his tether. I'm going, don't start trading. Do you want to be really depressed? And I said, go to meetups, because he's a lawyer, right? He's got 2 law degrees. I said, go out to meetups. There is a huge amount of work in this area, huge amount. Go to meetups, talk to people, find out what's going on there. With your skill sets, adapt them to cryptocurrency. You get work. You get work in the morning. There's so much work in this area. And don't go start trading if you've never traded before. What's that all about? I just, drives me nutty. Because I mean, if I was to trade, I would lose everything. I can guarantee that. I'm the world's worst. If I buy high and I sell low, so never follow my property buying or my trading patterns. Never.
Well, it's a thing that people are just jumping on the hype train. I met a wonderful guy in LA. He's a growth hacker, but he's like, Liina, teach me about day trading cryptos. I said, don't do it. Just don't do it. It's like, yeah, but I mean, I can spend 100K and then make 100% return in 1 month. I said, no, you're going to lose all of your money is what's going to happen. But it looks like he didn't take my advice, and I think he's now waiting for the prices go up a bit. But it's just don't do it.
No, don't do that. I mean, unless you are a trader. I mean, like, you're a trader, fine. That's happy days, and you have money. You have money you can afford to lose. Happy days, or get a job with an institution that'll give you the money to lose or to win, whatever. But it's just, and I know it's nice that people can invest small amounts. Obviously, if you want to sell stocks and shares, you need a lot of money. But day trading in crypto is possible, for small monies. But really, unless that's where you're at, really, because there is no such thing as sort of quick and easy money. Well, maybe if you bought Bitcoin back in 2010, there is, but otherwise, it's the real world. Do real things, and there's work in this industry. That's the thing I get. There's so much work in this industry, and if you can do it, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, OAP, whatever. There's a lot of work if you got the interest. If you're a kid, there's this work in this industry for sure.
Yeah, definitely, and yes, of course, if you are an experienced trader, but crypto is not something to start with. Start with Forex. That's a lot safer.
That's the right advice. So what do you say for this week? Is it a good week or a bad week?
Well, considering what Ethereum's price is doing, I'm going to have to say this is bad. This is pretty bad.
Okay. Well, I will agree with you, because it is a bit shocking, because I look at my wallet and I'm going, that is so scary. I have a couple of ETH in there and I'm going, that is so sad, and I want to buy a house. It's so sad. But having said that, though, it was a great week. You had a great holiday. Our travels were great, and we met some really interesting people. And I think, okay, we'll say bad week for the markets, but good week for blockchain. How's that?
Yeah, it's always a good week for blockchain, and I think people are starting to finally get what we can do with it, and
that's so cool.
We'll have some adoption here, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, welcome back again. And anyone who's watched this far, do like and subscribe. And we'll be back here next week.
Yeah.
Until
Bye-bye.
then,
Thank you.